All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 285 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. We are super excited for the content we got planned out for you guys today. As always, this is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family and trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way. I'm your host, Seth Hensley. I come on twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday, to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I try to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal. And today we're going to be reviewing a video that I'm now going to share on the screen for you guys. For those of you who are subscribed, you can watch along early. If you are coming to the show for free, then you can watch along on YouTube at a later date. But we're going to be reviewing a video by Matt Fradd in which he covers the issue of simping in regards to marriage. So simping is a term that's commonly used now by young people to refer to people who are, just head over heels infatuated with someone and pursuing them sort of regardless of anything. And, there's a lot of discussion around that as people, there's a lot of accusations going around of people being a simp, and it's kind of portrayed as a bad thing. And it obviously can be a bad thing if you're, throwing yourself into this if you're investing yourself in this relationship or this potential relationship with somebody who's given you no indication that you should, that no indication that they're going to stick around with or that they are equally invested in you, then yeah, that's probably a bad idea. But I think within marriage, I don't think it's really possible to love your wife and spoil her and serve her and just be infatuated with her too much. And so I'm curious to see, number one, what Matt Fradd says in this video, as well as kind of the guest that he has on, who I do not know the name of yet. So I'm excited to watch this interview. If you have not, go ahead and subscribe to the show, leave a written rating and review if you like the content you see, and reach out and send us a voice message on social media. I would love to hear all of those and make me feel super connected to you guys as audience members, and it would make this podcasting system two-way. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this interview.
I got a thought that I've been ruminating on that I haven't shared with you that I want to share with you now. Okay, so the kids talk about simping. You know what this word means? Someone, I just looked it up so I could get it right. Thursday, you can yell out if I'm wrong. Someone who obsesses over another person and goes to great lengths to please them, even if their feelings are not reciprocated.
Right. I've only heard it referred to refer to boys.
Yeah.
Right. Simping for some girl. Like, he's such a simp. He's always over there trying to get attention from the girls.
Yeah.
It's unreciprocated attention to a woman from a man for the sake of from sexual attraction.
From a what?
Well, like due to sexual attraction.
Due to sexual attraction, kind of over affection. All right. So here's the thought. A lot of husbands fall into the trap of simping over their wives, simping for their wives. And what I mean is this. When we were children, we were dependent on our mother's body for
everything,
comfort, breast milk, and
Right.
to be regulated. And then what happens is we don't grow up and we're still trying to regulate ourselves with the woman's body. And that might be through pornography.
Sure.
Right. But even if one has broken the habit of pornography, a man who is meant to lead his household and lead his wife can fall into the trap of being overly affectionate towards his wife because he's afraid of not having sex.
Okay. All right, guys. I want to hear what you think about this, but that gives me I have kind of a rough reaction to that. He just said a guy can be overly affectionate to his wife, which if he stopped there, I would just disagree hands down. I would be like, why did you even say such a thing? But he said, in order to achieve something to the nature of like sexual gratification. So just being kind to your wife in order to have a sexual relationship with her, which, man, if you're doing that, I mean, if that's all there is to your marriage, you're missing out. So, I mean, I think guys who do that are just kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because there's a lot more to a good and awesome marriage than, a healthy sexual life. That's a huge part of it. But like, I don't know, there's just so much more. So to just go head over heels, serving your wife and being infatuated with her only because you have a great sexual relationship with her, I think is kind of just, you're missing the bigger picture. But the reason I react to this is it's like, it should be like, ideally, both people laying their life down and serving and being infatuated with one another and loving one another 100% and 100%. Like, it's not like I don't want to just, I react to any kind of marriageology teaching, whatever you want to call it, that it suggests that you should give like 70% or less than your best to your partner, or be, less smitten or less attracted or less infatuated with your partner, because I'm just like, why? Why, man? Like, why? Why would you want a relationship where you didn't want your wife to care about you as much as you care about her, or vice versa? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you want your spouse to care about you less than they could? That makes zero sense to me. And kind of people who say that, I'm like, why? What's your marriage look like? Like, why are you saying that? And Matt's suggesting that a lot of men are overly infatuated with wives out of a selfish motivation, for basically just to satisfy their own sexual desires. Because if they don't, aren't overly infatuated with their wife, then I think the assumption there is, or the presumed assumption that these men, he says, are making, is that sex will stop, and their wife will basically say, "Well, I didn't really feel love today, and so I'm going to turn off your access to intimacy." Which, man, that whole scenario is bad too. Because then you're like earning sexual relations with your wife, and just that sounds awful to me. So I guess I just don't. If a man's actually thinks that his wife is going to not be sexually intimate with him because she perceives that he, or assumes or presumes or feels that he did not love her well enough, I mean, man, that number one, that says that their connection is not good. Because this guy's here, sitting here thinking that basically his wife is using the sexuality as a carrot on a stick, basically motivating him to do things. And she's basically manipulating and controlling him for his entire life, is kind of what that marriage sounds like to me. And number two, the husbands know better, because it seems like, in that scenario, the only reason he cares about his wife is because she's having sex with him, which is also equally dysfunctional. So it seems like both of the partners in that union are way off base, at least, at face value to me. But let's see kind of Matt flesh this argument out further, because surely he has he's probably going to back up kind of what he's saying here.
Okay.
So he comes off as, he's super kind to his wife. He's always really kind of like, but it's really because he's enslaved.
Okay. I don't like the use of the word enslaved there. I don't like the enslaved terminology for, what I think is God's solution to sexual enslavement, and that is marriage. So I don't think you could be enslaved to a sexual addiction, or a sexual relationship, with your wife. Because again, I think that's the actual liberation. That's the exodus away from the Egypt of pornography and hookup culture and, less than the best sexual experiences that are also, immoral and downright wrong and scripturally condemned and all this stuff. And so I don't think to use the word enslavement for the, the covenantal sacramental bond between a man and a woman that is, God's design for a healthy sexuality, I don't think you can use the word enslavement there. And I know Matt doesn't actually think that too. I really like Pints with Aquinas. But that's kind of what I'm hearing in this argument, is a little bit too much of that, and I do think it's possible for, men to use their wife, or to be, how shall I say, to be selfish in their marriage, and basically, try and control their wife, by doing good things for her, just so that they'll get what they, in their selfish nature want. And that is, a healthy sexual encounter. But, people who do that, husbands who do that, don't have a good connection. So their sex life is not only not good, but they don't, their marriage doesn't have a good connection, and vice versa. Like I just said a while ago, wives who use sexual encounter as a carrot on a stick to control their husband's behavior are also manipulative. And so I think either time that you talk about simping within the context, I think simping doesn't really belong in the context of marriage. That's really what this boils down to. The word simping for your wife is a it's impossible. It's an oxymoron, because simping is something that occurs, is not something that can occur within a healthy marriage. And so if you want a healthy marriage, I don't think you can simp for your wife. I don't think there is too much that you can do for her, or too much that you can love her, or, too much service that you can offer her, or, too much infatuation that you can have for her within the context of a marriage. I think all of that is good, and not enslavement to either manipulation or just your desire for sexuality. So let's continue to see what his guest has to say, though, and hopefully he'll flesh out this argument a little more, so that I can kind of, get a better idea of what he's saying. Because I know Matt would definitely agree that, marriage is God's design, the only design for a healthy sexual life, and that all other forms of sexual expression are less than the best and immoral. And so let's see kind of what he says here.
Saying it well, because I haven't thought it through that, but I think there's something to it that, like, my primary responsibility and your primary responsibility is to lead our wife and our children to heaven. And that means making tough decisions. Sometimes it's going to mean putting our foot down or making tough decisions don't like immediately. But when the man is so afraid of upping his wife, lest she make his life hell, either because she's erratic or just because she won't be as affectionate to him, then he bends over backwards and kind of negates his responsibility as father and
Okay, a guy who's not gonna do what is needed by the family just because he wants a sexual, release is not a good man. And likewise, a woman who will not show her husband sexual affection because he didn't do what she wanted that day is also just as manipulative and controlling and tyrannical, domineering, whatever word you want to use for that. And so both of those, the man and the woman in that situation, in that couple relationship that he just described, are not somebody to look up to. I mean, they're people who do that do not have a good connection in their marriage. If you're just trying to control what your partner does, and I think that's universally agreed upon that's not a good way of living. So definitely don't. I'm not tracking with what his argument is so far here, but let's continue to see if he hashes this out.
I'm just joking.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm actually saying I want an actual ball and chain around her foot. Yeah, no, you heard me right. I'm not going to apologize for it. That's where the manosphere will be in 3 years from now on YouTube. There will be men
100%.
saying, "No, I'm actually saying she should be chained to the bed." That is what I'm saying. And anything less than that is gay.
Which
of course, that's not right.
And so I struggle with this, right? Because my wife and I have a very traditional sort of division of labor, right? I do the outside stuff. I go to work. I do farm. I do all of that. And then she's at home and takes care of all the domestic stuff. And I honestly, and I'm not just saying this for like traditionalist point, I do not understand how households operate. Not judging. Some people have to do that. I understand for financial reasons. Sometimes you have to have mom and dad work. I don't understand how a household runs because I've been spoiled. It's always in my house. But when this baby was born, we had a long period with children. We had some miscarriages and some of that in there. And then we had this baby, and it that's the whole dynamic and how the household runs, right? And so now Angie makes the dinner, and Angie used to make the dinner, do the dishes and all that stuff. Now Angie makes the dinner, and then I organize my little places, and we clean the kitchen and clean the dishes and do all the things.
Because you're a good husband.
And, yeah. And so I just don't even understand how I would define, and maybe you can't, but it's like wife, unless you're inside the guy's head, right?
Yeah. And that's right. I don't think you can look at it from the outside and say, right? Like, suppose, I don't know. Suppose you're doing something on behalf of the family that is actually, right, but it's maybe a little initially frustrating with your wife. And so you forsake the thing that you know is actually what's best for her and your children.
Got you. Yeah.
For the sake of peace, quote unquote, because you're afraid of disrupting this.
I think that issue of being afraid to be the heads of our house.
Yeah.
Right.
Symptom. Nice.
But none of this so far has addressed, I don't think this simping can necessarily, let's Google the definition of the word simping, because that's going to be important in this discussion. And so far they haven't done that, but I imagine they will very soon in the conversation, because you can't really have a conversation on a subject if you haven't really defined the terms, and neither party knows what the other's saying because they haven't defined the term. I'm not sure if I should use Wikipedia or Simp, Merriam-Webster. Let's do this one, the Merriam-Webster definition of simping, because again, I don't think this is something that can occur in marriage. I mean, when I think of simping, it's usually in the conversation of a guy being accused of chasing a woman too hard because she has not shown interest in him. So basically he's on a wild goose chase. He's trying to win the affection of a woman through acts of service or affection when that woman is not, available. And so that I think is foolish. So I always think of simping as a bad thing. So when they bring that into the context of marriage, I almost think it doesn't make any sense, because you can't simp too hard for somebody who's also simping for you. If it's a reciprocal relationship and they're giving just as much as you are, I don't think you can give too much and give too much of yourself, or lay your life down more. Like, I don't think you should lay your life down less for your partner in that context. I think you should absolutely give 100%. and she should absolutely give 100%, and you should be absolutely infatuated with each other on both ends, male and female, and that's the only way that works. But Merriam-Webster here, I'll share the screen for you guys. I'll show this screen instead. It says here, in its informal use, is a foolish or stupid person. So simp is short for simpleton. Simpleton's a word that actually means a foolish or stupid person. The informal and often disparaging use is someone, especially a man, who shows excessive concern, attention, or deference toward a romantic partner or love interest. Let's see, scrolling down. Someone who has a marked fondness or desire for something. A simp is to show excessive devotion or longing for someone or something. Again, I don't think there is such a thing as excess devotion, for a spouse, because again, it's like she's agreed to lay her life down for you as much as you have agreed to lay your life down for her. So it's almost like, does that make sense to you guys? Kind of what I'm saying. It's like simping is bad and stupid and foolish when you're simping for someone who does not care about you. That's an unsafe person that you should not be giving your heart to, because she's not communicated to you in any way that she's going to stick around for the long haul or value you as a romantic partner or, do anything with you in an intimate way. And so why would you, lay yourself out there for somebody who's not done that? That I think is foolish. And, but to say that simping can be brought into marriage and you can actually be too, showing of deference and thoughtful and affectionate towards your partner, I think is just incorrect. Again, I don't think you can. Maybe that's just a hot take or a weird opinion, but I don't think that's that crazy. I mean, when I try to imagine my own marriage, and basically I'm trying to serve her as best as I can. I'm trying to be as affectionate with her as I possibly can. I'm trying to be as loving towards her as I possibly can. I'm trying to give of myself as much as I possibly can. So, but according to the definition of simping, they would think that's a bad thing, again, because you're doing it to a person who hasn't earned it. Again, the definition is someone, especially a man, who shows excessive concern, attention, or deference to a romantic partner. All those things are amazing in the context of a romantic in the context of a marriage relationship, because your partner's agreed to show you the same. It's just bad when your partner hasn't, and here you are laying your life down and giving 110%, and they're doing nothing. That's when simping is bad. So let's continue to see kind of what this guy is saying here.
And that's something that I see. I was talking to somebody at Catholic Family Land the other day about how many families I see on a regular basis, and just sort of the circles I run in and the places that I go and people I talk to, where you have a really strong, on fire mother, right? Not, maybe I shouldn't say overbearing, but one who is good, all of faith and strong in the faith, and then a dad who's lukewarm or doesn't. Or apathetic about the faith. And so you see this mother trying to be the spiritual head of the house, and it's a kiss of death, right? That's not how it right? But then is the head of his household. If he's bad at it, his wife can't be the head of the household. You just have a disordered household, right? And when you say that, it sounds so much like some manosphere whatever thing, and I used to temper that with like, well, I'm the head but my wife is the neck. She tells me which way to do. That's not true. I am the head of my household, and that's rightly ordered, and my wife would say that happily if she were here right now. And it's hard. It would be a lot easier to not do that. I mean, I can see the appeal of being like the sitcom dad from the 90s who's the
Well, I mean, just while he's on this tangent here, who's the head of the household and kind of the spiritual leader of the family and all this, I mean, people look at that as this amazing position and amazing duty, when in reality it is, as any good man will tell you, it is not a walk in the park that is just some great benefit we get for being a man. It's actually kind of one of the downsides of being a man, because it's very difficult and there's a lot of responsibility on you, and there's a lot of like pressure, and in other words, it's not a role that I would choose to take if it wasn't my duty to make my wife's life as easy as possible. I would just have her do it, right? I would have her do all the hard stuff if I wasn't obligated and called of God to give of myself I would just have my wife do every difficult thing. I would make her the head. It'd be like, here, you go ahead and take that, babe. You make all the decisions for us so that I don't have to make anything. That's really my natural inclination as a man, is to be kind of lazy and not do anything, not lead the family, not serve or make tough decisions so that other people don't have to. And instead, my natural inclination is just to say, you make the tough decisions so that I don't have to. And so that's kind of my thoughts on what he just said there. But let's get back to the simp discussion. Hopefully they'll address kind of, hopefully they'll define what they actually mean by simp. Because again, I don't think that can happen in a marriage. And I'm unconvinced that that word is, even appropriate to use in the context of marriage.
Bumbling idiot and his wife is really the one for everything. But we can't do that, not because of pride, but out of a sense of love for our spouse and our children and our family, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we live in a day and age where marriage and gender roles, sexual roles, whatever you say, is such a debated topic. I feel like we have to almost treat the advice from both sides with a level of distrust. Mm-hmm. So because you've got people on one side who say, we don't actually know what women are, and marriage can mean two men, and sex can mean like masturbation. Mm-hmm. So we live in a society that doesn't know what men are, women are, sex is, marriage is. So their advice coming from what we would say more as the left, we don't want to listen to. Right. But then I also notice advice that I'm getting from the right that I really don't listen to. I was listening to a podcast recently that was talking about the evils of feminism, where the man actually said that he refuses to change his children's diaper. That's his wife's job.
Right.
And I think that sounds like a deep insecurity you have. Mm-hmm. And you should just do your duty, and you should, of course, like what you said, you rally the troops and you clean the kitchen because you love your wife and you do what's best for her.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy who's just putting all the hard stuff on his wife, which is exactly what, leading the family does not look like. So bad leadership skills there. I mean, and of course, everyone listening to this will agree with me, and you're not the kind of guy to say, you do this, I refuse to do this, and you just shove that burden off on your wife, because anytime you do that, you're not going to have a happy marriage, because you're not looking out for her, you're looking out for your own ease and selfish interests and your lack of wanting to get your hands dirty and whatever. And so, I don't know, any man who's looking out for himself more than his wife, I think, is not going to have a good marriage. So you've got to be willing to get your hands dirty. Everyone here knows that, though, so I'll just continue on. Hopefully, I want to hear him define simping and explain how that's even possible to have in the context of a marriage, because, again, you've both agreed here to lay your life down for your partner for the rest of your life, and to do so to the fullest of your ability. And so how does simping even come into the conversation here?
So I almost want to kind of go back to, okay, what were people saying before this became a contested issue? Let's look at what their advice is. And that's why I put a lot of stock in people like St. John Chrysostom's commentary on Ephesians 5 and things like this, because things weren't insane.
Though seeming to be loser in that she was charged to fear, because the principal duty, love, is charged on the husband. But what if a wife reverence me not? Never mind. Thou art to love. Fulfill thy duty. Just so, I say, it is also here, let the wife, at least, though she be notwithstanding, that nothing may lie at her door, and let the husband, though his wife reverence him not, still show her love notwithstanding, that he himself be not wanting in any point.
That's good. So basically just you manage yourself regardless of what your partner does. Like, you're to show love to your wife even if you do not feel that she has respect for you, and and she is likewise to respect you even if she feels that you do not love her. And again, because our feelings don't dictate our actions, and I teach my little kindergartners this all the time, and your feelings don't even really, I think, have a corner on truth. A lot of time they misinterpret what the real truth is. And so your spouse may actually be loving you and revering you and respecting you and caring for you really well, and if you're not feeling that, that doesn't mean you can just forsake your own duties. We're called to lay our life down for our spouse in Scripture. So, and again, I know there's, marriages where there's a lot of abuse going on and all this, and I'm not talking to those people. So just to be really clear here, I'm talking to people who have a healthy connection. Just keep chugging through, laying your life down for your spouse, because I think that does come with rewards. At least it has for me in my marriage. I mean, if I quit and say I'm not going to love and respect you anymore, because I'm not feeling that you're doing the same for me, it really falls apart. It just kind of devolves into chaos really quick.
funny story of when I came to your house once and your wife was away and you asked me to run your dishwasher because you didn't know.
I didn't ask you to run the dishwasher. You said, this dishwasher's full. We should do the dishes. And I was like, great.
Do you know how to do it?
And I said,
I don't know how to do it, is what you said.
Yeah.
And what
I still have no idea how to run the dishwasher.
And the reason that,
Mhm.
right, is because you hunt and own animals and feed your wife and children with them.
Right.
It would not be okay for me to be like that. So what I mean is this: if you're a fella insisting that women have these traditional gender roles, but you are just like a red pill streamer and your job is just to get more local supporters and Patreon supporters, like, wrong with being a streamer, but to sit there, not know how to use a hammer and insist that women act like they did back in the 40s while you don't.
That's
I don't
like
that.
Yeah.
But that's okay with you being like that because you actually do fit into these stereotypical male gender.
I'm just a big believer, and I'm sure this comes up all the time, but the whole Chesterton fence thing. And if I guess sort of a more simplified version of that is, if everybody did it 150 years ago, we should probably still do it. Not always, right?
Racism.
I was literally bad, right? Okay. But there's probably a good reason, because if we did 150 years ago, we probably did 150 years before that, and we probably did 1,000 years before that. So,
okay, I'm going to kind of just wrap up the video here. They're almost done with that clip, and so they didn't ever really define simping as much as I hoped they would. Again, we defined it with Merriam-Webster, and you've heard obviously the word simp thrown around in your own day-to-day interactions with other people, but like, if you're having a discussion on whether or not simping can occur in marriage, which is really what it boils down to me, like, they said that Matt made the argument that men simp for their wife, basically, doing things that she would like in order to control her to get her to have sex with you, which, yeah, that does sound kind of like a, less than the best motive. It sounds manipulative and controlling and conniving and crafty, and none of the adjectives that you want to have in front of your name in marriage. And so if a guy were to do that, yeah, he's got a bad marriage. But like, simping, if you actually look at the Merriam-Webster definition, which again is like, especially a man who shows excessive concern, attention, or deference toward a romantic partner. Again, I don't think you should show that. I don't think you should. I think it is possible to show excessive concern toward a romantic partner if that romantic partner has not agreed to show you the same and be around for the long haul and shown you that with her actions, his or her actions. So I think that is stupid. That is foolish to simp for people who have not laid their lives down for you. But if it's with somebody who's sworn in front of God and people to live the rest of her life with you and embrace, consequences and lawyer fees should she choose to withdraw from that marriage, and basically take on a lot of, selfish or a lot of self-deprivation in order to have this good connection with you, then I don't really think you can serve that woman too hard. I don't think you can love her too much. I don't think you can be too affectionate toward her. And so I guess I just don't think that simping can happen in marriage. I mean, if you do change, you're welcome to change my mind. Reach out and let me know what you think through the link in the show notes. Well, actually, that link's not there anymore. I forgot. I'm used to saying that. You can now reach out to us on social media. Not Anchor. They changed to Podcasters for Spotify. They threw away the voice message button. So you can no longer send me a voice message. At least I'm working on seeing if I can get that fixed now. But you can no longer send me a voice message there. But send me a voice message on Facebook or Instagram, just the Restoring Rapport page or my Seth Hensley profile. I would love to hear from you. I've been really enjoying hearing from you guys there as well. It makes me feel super connected to you and makes this thing a conversation instead of a monologue. So also check out Pints of Aquinas if you want to, and follow our YouTube and Facebook and Instagram page as well. We would love to see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for listening today, and let me know what you think. Is it possible to simp within the context of a marriage? We will talk to you guys next time.